Hello and welcome back to another episode of Internal Rambles. This is your girl Rochelle. If you are new, welcome, and if you are returning, thank you for tuning back in. This is another bonus episode, and this is going to be a reality recap episode. I am going to recap the latest episode of Married at First Sight season 15, and I am also going to recap the last two episodes of Ready to Love. So if you are ready to hear what is going on in these two reality shows, please stick around and your girl will recap you on the happenings and goings-ons of these two shows. Alrighty, so I am starting with Married at First Sight season 15, San Diego. This is a recap of episode 9, where the experts are tasking the couples with discussing what is going to take for each couple to fall in love with each other. They're also discussing kind of their history on past relationships, past love experiences, etc. So I am just going to go through each couple and what has occurred with them in this episode, and also, as I have been doing in the previous recaps of this season, just discuss my predictions or where I think each married couple is at currently. I am going to start off with Morgan and Ben. They made a little progress this episode, but really not much. They are still on the struggle bus. In this episode, I will say though, Ben made a little bit of progress. He does apologize to Morgan and kind of shares that he was really hard on her because he was kind of projecting his family issues onto her. He shares that he believes one of the reasons why he got so up in arms about learning that she kind of lied about having finished her degree, etc., is because his family doesn't really accept his career path. They really wanted him to be a doctor, etc. He also doesn't have a great relationship with his father, so he was just projecting that all onto her, and she accepts that. He also shares that he is a big people pleaser and that he always feels not good enough, especially when it comes to his family. So he basically did to her what his family has been doing to him and making it seem like she's not good enough, or she didn't do enough, or she lied and she isn't portraying her real self and that she needs to do more, etc. So she thanked him for being honest and sharing and expressing that to him. And they go on a couple of dates, and they seem to kind of be making a little progress, at least enjoying each other's company. But if you fast forward to the end of the episode, or the end of this episode, she confronts him, but not fully, and she basically says, like, Alexis told me everything. I hear you talking junk about me. So this episode, while it looked like they were making baby steps, next episode it sounds like that's all going out the window and they're going to be back at square negative 75. So I don't know what's going on with them. Okay, let's move on to Lindy and Miguel. So at the beginning of the episode, Miguel meets with one of his friends who was at the housewarming party, and the friend expresses some concerns about Lindy because that's when Lindy got emotional because she was upset that Miguel wouldn't put her on his insurance policy, and the friend's just like, are you sure you're good with this chick? Because she was all over the place. She was so emotional. It wasn't even that serious. Is she Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Do she got a good side and a bad side? Is this what you signed up for? And Miguel's like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Child. So anyways, moving forward, Miguel and Lindy does discuss this, and Lindy is just like, I want to be able to have conversations with you. If we get in an argument, I don't want to feel like I can't express what I need to express with you. And Miguel's like, listen, if I'm with somebody and they seem crazy, I'm out the door. I don't really be dealing with that type of stuff. And it's like, are you an adult? When you're in an argument, especially if it's a heated argument or a passionate argument, no one's gonna be like, I really don't like this. There are heated arguments. Yeah, I'm not saying you gotta throw them bowls and go to blows with folks, but when you're in a relationship, things may get a bit elevated. The thing about it is, he wants perfection. He wants someone that everything's happy-go-lucky, accepts him for him. He just wants this perfect thing, but he doesn't want anything that may seem negative or elevated or anything that says emotion. He's like, I don't think I can deal with this, and it's not realistic. He does not have a realistic expectation of marriage, and she challenges him. And I think he is bringing past baggage, where it's like, if she is exhibiting anything like previous relationships, it's a red flag for him, and he needs to let that hurt go. I'm not saying that he needs to not have standards or whatever, but you may get in a heated argument, bruh. It's called life. So it's really, really super unfortunate that he does kind of put such pressure that she can't really express how she feels in things. It's clear that she goes along with certain things to not upset him or to not make him seem as though she definitely obliges to a lot of things because she wants him to want her. And I didn't mention this, I'm sorry. At the end, they did bring in a new expert, and I will talk about what happens with each couple with the expert. So I will talk about that. And she brings up a really, really valid issue with him in regards to how she holds back. So more to come on that. Alexis and Justin, they discuss their previous relationships, and Justin shares that he doesn't really think he has ever been in love. He thinks that he thought at the time he was, but he was definitely just kind of like a people pleaser. He did whatever his girlfriend wanted, but he just wanted to be accepted and wanted to be loved, and he believes that comes from his family. He didn't feel loved and accepted by his father's side of the family, so that carried over into his relationships. And then moving on to the two troublesome couples of the episode, I'm gonna go with Kristen and Mitch. Mitch is a hot mess. I'm sorry. Kristen is doing everything to be supportive. Sorry, that's my notes making the rustling noise. To be supportive, to be a cheerleader, a champion. And Mitch asks Kristen about her life goals, and she shares that once she has a few kids, she wants to maybe go into flipping houses. And he kind of zones out and he's very immature, starts like making jokes. I don't even know. And she's like, you just asked me a question. Are you listening to me? And he responds and he says, I am listening to you. And he states, with the flipping of the houses, can you tell me a little bit more about that? And he kind of shares how he feels about it, but he's not fully honest about how he feels. He goes in on her when they go on a karaoke date, and he states that it's upsetting and he believes it's predatory that she wants to flip houses. He believes that people that flip houses are predatory because when people do that, usually it increases the value of the house, and low income housing families are not able to purchase the houses. Now that can be true, but for him to be in politics, as he says, and an environmentalist, he's actually quite naive, because there are grant monies and there are developers that flip houses for specifically for low income houses, so that because there are programs for families that are low income housing so that they can purchase new homes that they wouldn't be able to purchase otherwise. And for someone who supposedly is in politics and is an environmentalist, it's unfortunate that he does not know that there are developers that's actually they do their home building and their house flipping, and that may be for financial gain, but then they'll have a other aspect of their house flipping that they specifically will build homes for low income families. So it's not always predatory. Okay, a little education there for you, Mitch. But it can be, definitely. There are corporations, but like she explained to him, she's like, I'm not some big corporation or conglomerate that's like knocking down all the low income housing and building condos. So, and she shared like that she would like there to be like an environmentalist aspect to it, maybe an energy saving portion to. She's trying to bring him into, she's always considering him, she's trying to bring him into her world. And he goes off and he says to her, I don't think you're being authentic. You don't have to appease me or patronize me. You're not being authentic. And it's just like, bruh, what is wrong with you? So that was it ended up being a horrible date. Started off great for them. Later they do talk, and she shares that she was very unhappy at the way that he came at her, that she's trying to be really respectful, and etc., etc. So he does seem to understand how she comes at him. But then and I'm going to fast forward, I'm going to go back to this, but even when they all meet with the new expert, the women all buy, it's kind of like a joke thing, they all buy the husbands the same shirt. And so it's always like, it all becomes like a whole thing, like, haha, you all have the same shirt on. He does put on the shirt, but then he takes it off, and he would only wear the shirt. A, she had to tell him what the surprise was, but B, he only wore the shirt for a brief moment, and then he took it off. And he's like, I don't like to be controlled. I think it's very materialistic. I don't like people buying things from me. He never compromises. It's always about him and what he wants. It's never anything that Kristen wants to do or what Kristen wants for him. It's Mitch's way or the highway. And how do you have a sustainable long-term relationship when it's just based off of what one person wants? And like I said, Mitch is a hot mess. I understand why he hasn't had long-term relationships or successful relationships. Okay, I felt like I was ranting, I'm not sure. But if it wasn't a rant, it should be a rant. Mitch is a mess. He's a mess. Another mess. And I don't know if this will be, I can totally see Stasia's perspective, and I'm going to get into it. I don't know if she necessarily handled it the best way. But let's move on to Stasia and Nate. So Stasia and Nate receive the question from the experts, and they talk about where they are right now on the spectrum of love with each other. So the left side of the spectrum, let's say, is and that may be a 0, I don't know, and then 10 would be I love you, right? So Stasia asks Nate, where are you on the spectrum? And Nate's like, oh, I'm at a 4 out of 10, 40%. And Stasia is like, a 4? And he's like, yeah, where you at? And she says she's like at an 8. So clearly a discrepancy. And Nate says, I just need more time. We need more time to connect. And so ultimately, I think that love versus like, I don't really, that could be, that is a part of what she's asking. She's more so asking what is his level of commitment to this marriage. And I think that's what people have been asking all along. And they go back in the home because they were like in the pool or something. And then they discuss it further. And Nate gets upset. And they get into a whole big argument. And he just focuses on, I told you that that I'm in here. I'm gonna go to counseling. I'm doing all these things. And he says that I'm gonna do a bank account with you. And Stasia explains, you can have a joint account with me and not love me. You can want all these career things and not love me. What is your level of commitment to this marriage? You have not shown any vulnerability to me. When she asks him about his past and sharing feelings, he pushes her away. He isn't able to verbalize that. And yeah, he's willing to go to counseling, but that may not be just counseling. There is a level of commitment. He may not benefit from counseling if he doesn't commit to the process to it. That's all future oriented, and she identifies it. That's all future oriented things. She needs in the moment right now. This is what we need. And he's like, I'm willing to move in with you. Yeah, I would move in with her too. She got a nice place and she building a house. That's not commitment, bruh. And he does not see that. And it just, I think it highlights the fact that they want different things, and they've identified that very early on. They have different marriage goals. And she said that she wants a family. She wants kids. He wants a power couple. So they have not been on the same page very early on. So I don't know what's going to happen with them, and I'll get more into that later when I discuss what happens with the expert. But actually I can probably get into it now. Did I go through all the couples? I think I did. Yes, I'm sorry. So Dr. Pia is the new expert. I don't know how long she's going to stay, but she is a sex and family therapist or psychiatrist or doctor. So when they met with her, she wanted to discuss the emotion wheel and what emotions comes up for each individual when thinking about their marriage. And for Stasia, some of the emotions that she brought up was sad, lonely, and abandonment. And it's because she doesn't feel that Nate is putting in enough effort, or the same effort, same commitment. And this really upsets Nate. And he shares that he feels he is, but she's not seeing it. And so Nate comes back to their apartment after meeting with Dr. Pia, and he goes off. And he's like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I don't think the problem is me no more. The problem is you. And if you keep challenging me, I'm gonna zone out, and I'm gonna be detached, and I'm not gonna put in no more effort. Bro, you ain't putting in no effort. Just cause you there don't mean you're putting in effort. He don't even talk, he ain't got no game. He don't talk no good game. I haven't seen, she doesn't see it, we don't see it. If that's his level of commitment, it's very limited. Talk is cheap. The actions speak louder than the words. Not what you gonna do. What are you doing? So it ain't looking too great for not Nate and Stasia, but I'll talk more about that. When Alexis and John was discussing with Dr. Pia, Justin shares that he doesn't like to constantly say things over and over and over. It makes him feel it makes him feel misunderstood, and if he's misunderstood, he feels like he doesn't need to talk, so he shuts down. So Alexis shares, if you shut down, then how does that help us? And Dr. Pia says you have to continue to talk in order to get through things, and maybe you can't talk through things in the moment. So if you can't, set a date and a time in the future. Hey, we have this argument on Friday. Let's revisit this Sunday at 8 a.m. Lindy and Miguel. Lindy shares that she's had childhood trauma that has caused her sometimes to lash out, and that she doesn't want to show that side to Miguel because she doesn't believe he can handle it. She's concerned that he may leave or not want to be with her, etc. if she does show that side. And Miguel kind of acknowledged, yeah, I don't know if I can handle that. And so Dr. Pia basically says there needs to be a safe place where she can be her authentic self. So that's very interesting that she did acknowledge that. And I think we've all seen it, that she has been holding back and been really appeasing to Miguel, because he constantly is very wish-washy and constantly shares about what he can and can't deal with. And then with Mitch and Kristen, when talking with Dr. Pia, Kristen has acknowledged that she feels as though everything is about Mitch and that she has lost herself and she's losing herself in the marriage. And Dr. Pia, she encourages that they find a balance where they both can be their true authentic selves, and there's a compromise and a balance where it's not just one person, aka Mitch, getting his way all the time. And that is the recap of episode 9 of season 15, San Diego, Married at First Sight. Next episode, they will be having their 1 month anniversary. So this is where I feel everyone is at. Kristen and Mitch, I think that they could go either way. If Mitch does not learn to compromise and let Kristen be a part of and have say and a voice in their marriage, they're not going to do well. Stassi and Nate, I don't know if they're going to make it. Nate, I think if they don't get on the same page and learn to communicate, if he really doesn't get engaged emotionally, they're not going to make it. Morgan and Ben ain't going to make it. That's it. It's been too many problems since like day 2. I just don't see it going well for them. Lindy and Miguel could make it. I don't know. Miguel has to stop having all these red flags for no reason and just accept Lindy for who she is. And I don't think she's a bad person. There probably is some maturity there that could be, but I think that she would be a loving wife and a good partner for him if he allows her to be. Alexis and Justin, I think if they continue to work on their communication, I think they could do well, but we'll have to see with them. So that is my Married at First Sight recap, and I am going to move on to season 6 of Ready to Love. Okay, she is back, and I am reviewing the last 2 episodes of Ready to Love Miami. This is season 6 of Ready to Love. I am recapping episode 5 and episode 6. So if you can remember, a couple of weeks back, it cliffhanged with 3 men being in the bottom: LJ, Justice, and Zoe. So at the beginning of episode 5, turns out nephew Tommy said no man is going home, where he's giving another chance. Personally, I could have saw Zoe and Justice going home and I would have been okay, but that's neither here nor there. So in this episode, some of the daters went on a group date. They went go-karting. And Zoe was super aggressive. He was bumping the women. Actually, I think one of the women got kind of sort of hurt. She ended up being sore. He was just, I'm gonna win, and I won. And it just was, that, I mean, it's okay to be competitive, but the level of aggressiveness was definitely super side eye. And during the go-karting afterwards, I'm going to get back to Zoe, but Justice, Kadian, and Trinika, they go off to talk. And I'm not really a huge fan of Kadian. She's very just kind of, I don't know what I want to call her. She's just kind of shady and just kind of, I don't know. She's just not my cup of tea. Especially she shared Shakira's information, even if a little bit vague. She didn't give Shakira a chance to share that she has been in an abusive relationship in the past. But nonetheless, Kadian brings Trinika for support to confront Justice. She feels as though Justice has not been very communicative, that she did reach out and ask Justice to call her, and he really wasn't contacting her. And Justice was basically, I did contact you, but when I contacted you, you wanted to talk about a different guy. Justice is very arrogant, and he has a very archaic thought process regarding dating, and he thinks that the woman should chase after him, and so she's not going to get what she wants from Justice. So it was just very counterproductive, and she got very frustrated and ended up leaving, and it just was very pointless of a conversation. And that's, I think, many of the women that do interact with Justice are often very frustrated communicating with him. But the very unfortunate thing that happened at the go-karting is Zoe and Charisse were talking. They went off, they were playing pool, and Charisse asked Zoe, hey, you were in the bottom 3. What are you going to do so that doesn't happen again? And also, where do we stand? And he was just like, I'm just going to be me. All I can do is be me. I can't, I'm just going to. And so she's just like, well, where do we stand? And he's like, I don't really know, because I don't really think you was feeling me, and I don't really know about you. You seem really fake and phony, and I don't really think you have interest in me. And it escalated to a very ridiculous, like, it didn't have to go there. She just was trying to have a conversation. Hey, you was on the bottom 3. What do you think you could change so that doesn't happen again? But also, are you interested in me? Are we gonna be communicating? We had a bit of a spark or something initially. Is that still there? She wasn't being aggressive. It was a very calm conversation. It went from a 1, it wasn't even a 1, to 27. And when he started, she's like, I think you fake. I think you phony. I think you not real. You don't know what's being real. And then he started yelling at her, and it was just like, I'm like, it was OD.com. And it showed his true colors, but also she was not being aggressive to him. First of all, why are you yelling at a woman? But if it was a heated argument, it wasn't an argument. So it showed him, it's just like, why are you being so aggressive, bruh? And is this a normal thing? Is it normal for you to be aggressive to women? I don't think he likes to be challenged. And I don't want to know, here's the thing, she was not challenging him. So him being that level of aggressive, what happens when a woman is really challenging him? What happens when a woman is somewhat matching his energy? I mean, I don't want to go there, but it was super scary. I was just like, can you dial that down about 26 notches? So it ended up upsetting her, and I saw some comments where people were like, why was she crying? First of all, you can't control anybody's emotions, but when you are just having a normal conversation and all of a sudden some big brute man is yelling at you, you may cry. But she has the right to have her emotions. She was not having a confrontation with him. She was not yelling at him. She started defending herself. She has the right to do that, but it did not. His level of aggressiveness was inappropriate, and it kind of makes me. I was thinking when I was watching it, there have been a few instances kind of recent seasons, and I'm just wondering, I know with like Married at First Sight, they say they go through all this vetting and who really knows, but there have been some instances recently with men where one woman felt uncomfortable. She didn't even want to be around a man, and these men that don't know how to be appropriate. And I'm not saying anything. I just wonder what the vetting do they talk to previous people that these men have dated, and women too. I mean, women can be abusers. I'm not saying he's an abuser. I'm just saying because these recent seasons there have been some aggressive, inappropriate men. I'm just saying. More on Zoe later. I'm gonna get off him, but more on him. In the middle of the episode, approximately, Shakira meets with Tommy, and she's very emotional, and she shares that she was very upset because Katie and Cher, like I mentioned, that she has had that because Katie and shared Shakira's business, that she was in a past abusive relationship, and Katie did not give Shakira the opportunity to share that information with the other men, and that was something that Shakira had shared during the women's lounge, which should have been private and confidential. And so Tommy said, you're right. What happens in women's lounge is private and confidential. What happens in the men's lounge is the same. And so Tommy does, without Shakira, he gives Shakira the day off so she doesn't have to come to women's lounge. And he does confront the women and tells them, listen, what happens here stays here. And Katie, and she's like, oh, well, she shouldn't have, if she shares her business, she should expect the issue. Girl, bye. No, it should be private. That's what it is. She did not share that for you to go run your mouth. So, at the end of the show, the bottom two men were Zoe and Justice. Zoe because he's a hot arse mess, and Justice because the women don't know what to do with him. He don't follow through. He's not communicating. He's not showing no effort. But ultimately, Zoe was the one who was let go, and he did not even show to the meeting the date where they say you're ready to love or you're not ready to love. And it just goes to show him and his trash character. Potentially, I don't know. There's something up with him, and he needs to just mature and get it together. He did not show to the meeting, and he's not ready to love, and he wasn't ready for the process. And I'm glad that he was given the pink slip. All right, y'all, we are almost there. This is a long episode, but I'm recapping like 3 episodes, so over 2 shows. So episode 6, Ready to Love. Tommy tells the men, take these women out on a romantic dates, and then a woman is going home. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but one of the guys, Randall, I'm going to need Randall to get it together. He says that he has 3 connections. At this point, I'm guessing they're probably at the halfway point, if not a little bit over the halfway point. How do you have 3 connections? And I don't really know who really are strong couples. There are 2, and I'm going to talk about them in this episode, that I think are the strongest. And I think actually Randall and one of his connections are one of the 2 strongest connections. But I just think at this point he needs to narrow it down, because if he stays stretching himself so thin, he won't really be able to focus on one, and then he could lose out on who may really truly be a good fit for him. But nonetheless, I think his strongest connection is actually with Jamala, and they did a candle making date, and it was super cute, and I think she's really into him. I think she's actually falling for him, and she was trying to get some insight, and maybe, I think honestly she was trying to get him to say that she is his number one or one of the top contenders, but he wasn't really able or willing to say that. And she does, the good thing is that she is aware that he does have other connections, so we will see. I think the other strong connection possibly would be Samson and Charisse. They have very similar family backgrounds. They seem to be on the same page in regards to their goals and what they want for a relationship. So I think possibly they could work. I don't know about any of the other people. I think the other ones are still, and I think everyone's still at this point just kind of dating around. We'll see how it goes. I think people like each other, but as far as strong connections, I can't really identify any other strong connections other than Samson and Charisse and Randall and Jamala. One of the really interesting things that happens this episode is Tommy calls a dinner, or I don't know what it was, with everyone, and he wants the BS, as he calls it, confronted. He feels as though there are people who are on the show for the wrong reasons, so he's like, if you got something to say, I want people to confront it now. So Jamala actually confronts Randall, and she's like, I know you have multiple connections, but I do feel as though you need to narrow it down and date with intention. And I think that you're playing the field, and that's not what we're here for. And I was like, that's right, Jamala, you tell him. He doesn't really say anything because he knows it's true. That's what he's doing. Someone calls out Shakira that they don't really know where they stand with her, and she says that after Katie told her business, she's not very trusting. Katie starts rolling her eyes and, girl, don't you call me out and all this stuff. And Tommy's like, what you need to do is be respectful. Even if you don't agree, the thing is that you need to be respectful of people. And yeah, because she's very disrespectful. One of the ladies calls out Samson because whenever he goes on a date, he buys gifts, and Shakira is like, I like my gift. And how do you call out somebody for buying a gift? Like, some men do that when maybe they'll give you flowers or whatever. That's not a bad thing. How you get upset with someone for buying a gift? That is just dating with intention. I want to give you something as my token of appreciation for coming on a date with me. I thought that was kind of silly. And so the bottom two women were Charisse and Shakira. Charisse has actually been on the bottom for 3. This is her 3rd time. And I think the men she's a strong personality, and it's like either you like her or you don't. And for Shakira, I think the men have concerns about, is she ready to be in a relationship? And she's been through such a traumatic past relationship. Ultimately, Shakira was the woman that was sent home, and the men, they all like her, but I think that they feel as though she needs more time to heal, and she acknowledges that. She does believe that she needs more time to heal and build her self-confidence, etc. So she wasn't upset about it at all. And that is my recaps, Married at First Sight and Ready to Love. Thank you for tuning in. Internal Rambles, my normal content releases every Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, everywhere that you get your podcast content, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I release my audio on YouTube. Interact with me over there so that I want to know what you think of what's going on in these shows, or if you want to interact with me in general. Also, I have some great upcoming content. Read with Rochelle. That is, it's not a book club, but we will be reading some books. That starts next week, or this week actually. And also, if you want to interact with me, if you want to send me some show ideas, some suggestions, if you want to ask me some questions, you can reach me at internalrambles@yahoo.com. I will be having a little audience portion on my birthday episode at the end of the month. So please interact with me and contact me either on YouTube or at internalrambles@yahoo.com so that I can answer that. You can remain anonymous, of course, so I would like to talk to you there or respond to you on that episode. And then don't forget my anniversary episode, first year anniversary episode will release on October 15th. I have a great episode planned for that. Thank you for listening and thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to me so that you get my content as soon as I release. Give me a like on YouTube, give me a review wherever else, or a rating wherever else you do get your podcast content. And until next episode, this is your girl Rochelle. Talk to you soon.